Chapter 315, Sinister Earth Spike 2. At the same time, as he continued to approach the ground, the situation on the ground began to be reflected in Zutua's mind through the two senses. The number of enemies discovered was as high as 10. 10 enemies wearing various masks and holding various hot and cold weapons were staring fixedly at the two flying cars. Looking at the various weapon configurations, this was definitely the configuration of a combat team. Bang! Their pulsive force flying car landed on the ground with a loud bang. Zutui was jolted out of his seat. However, his earth perception had also increased by another 20 meters. At the same time, his mental perception also accurately sensed the situation within a 42-meter radius after he landed. 11 enemies. 110 meters away, there was a man holding a shoulder-mounted launcher. He was on high alert. If you want to live, get out of the car. A man with short yellow hair rushed forward immediately. He slammed the car window and roared at Zutui. What are you trying to do? This is the Wuxia sector. Zutui shouted angrily. He also turned on the motorcycle's loudspeaker system. They could communicate internally and externally to stall for time. At the same time, Zutui's mental perception immediately searched for a chance to turn the tables. He had to find the other party's heavy weapons controller and the strongest person. If Zutui could not deal with the opponent's heavy weapon controller, he would be able to send the repulsive force flying into the sky with a single blow from the opponent's heavy weapon. At that time, everything would be over. As expected, Zutui immediately found a burly man in the crowd surrounding them. He was carrying a large handheld laser cannon. As long as this laser cannon was aimed at the repulsive force flying cars, it would be able to break through the body of the repulsive force flying cars. When the yellow-haired man saw Zutui shouting in anger, he pointed at Zutui with a look of disdain and scolded, "You idiot, of course we're going to rob you. But we have rules. Hand over all your belongings and I'll let you live." After saying that, the yellow-haired man pointed in the direction of the laser cannon and threatened, "Otherwise, this thing only needs one shot to penetrate or even blow up your flying car. How can you guarantee our safety after we hand over our belongings?" Zutui continued to try to communicate with them. He wanted to find the leader of these people. It was obvious that the blondie hesitated for a moment after Zutun asked the question. He looked at the other man who was wearing a Wuxia mask. "Boss," he asked, "how we can guarantee their safety?" "Useless," the Wuxia masked man shouted and walked directly to Zutui's flying car. He shouted at Zutui, "Get out of the car within 3 seconds. Otherwise, you will die." Zutui instinctively felt a little surprised. This plundering team seemed to be talking too much. If he had been the one to plunder, he would have fired a laser cannon at the flying car after it entered his shooting range. 3, 2, 1. However, the Wuxia leader was extremely decisive. 3 seconds had just passed when he let out a fierce roar and suddenly punched the bulletproof glass of Zutui's flying car. The bulletproof glass did not budge. Bang! 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 The man in the Wuxia mask punched 3 times in a row. The energy field that erupted from each punch was stronger than the last. The moment the third punch landed, the protective glass on Zutui's side of the window began to crack. FCAC, this isn't a genetic evolver. He's also a high-level genetic mutant, right? Cheng Mo exclaimed. Zutui made a corresponding judgment at that moment. The Wuxia leader in front of him is not a genetic evolver. If he was a genetic evolver, he would be able to shatter the bulletproof glass with a single punch without using his energy field. After confirming that the leader was not a genetic evolver, Zutui felt much more confident. The Wuxia leader did not stop punching the car window. Zutui estimated that he would need at most 1 or 2 more punches to break the car window. He had to react immediately. Zutui's concentration reached its peak in an instant. With a thought, he used his full strength to whip the Wuxia masked leader. However, Zutui was slightly taken aback when the mental whip hit the man. The feedback from the mental whip seemed to have an invisible barrier above the man's head. It blocked Zutui's mental whip and rendered it useless against him. The man in the Wuxia mask seemed to have noticed that Zutui was attacking him. He smiled coldly at Zutui. He looked as if victory was within his grasp as he threw another punch. Crack! Crack! The bulletproof glass immediately cracked in a large area, and it shattered. Almost at the same time, Zutui had a thought. A small mountain instantly appeared above the Wuxia masked man's head and smashed down. The Wuxia masked man revealed a strange expression, but his movements and reaction were extremely fast. He pulled out the spear in his right hand at lightning speed, and a sonic boom and energy field erupted at the same time. Bang! The invisible mountain that Zutui had materialized was shattered by the spear of the man in the Wuxia mask. Even if the man in the Wuxia mask was not a genetic evolver, he was definitely not far from becoming a genetic evolver. However, a strange look flashed across Zutui's eyes. The time distortion ability was instantly activated. In 0.2 milliseconds of absolute reaction time, an earth spike shot out from between the Wuxia masked man's legs like lightning. Due to the application of the time distortion, this earth spike gave people the feeling that it was launched at the same time as the mountain formula. The Wuxia masked man, who had just shattered the mountain formula with his spear, had no time to react. It was too soon. Moreover, the spear shattered the small mountain that Zutui had materialized. The Wuxia masked man exerted force with both feet and stepped on the ground as if it was rooted to the ground. He was unable to move as quickly as he usually did. Pfft! The Wuxia masked man suddenly let out an earth-shattering scream. He was convulsing in extreme pain. He did not know if it was Zutui's venomous stab that destroyed the ping-pong ball or the back door. However, no matter where it exploded, the spikes pierced through the Wuxia's lower body and into his abdomen. He did not know how many organs he had pierced through, but he was definitely seriously injured. The Blondie was stunned. The other team members were also stunned. None of them had expected their boss to be taken down. However, in an instant, the blonde teenager screamed and roared. "Old Ma, blast it! Forget it! Focus fire!" Bang! As soon as the blondie finished speaking, Old Ma, who was holding a laser cannon, was smashed to the ground. Not only was his head smashed, but the laser cannon in his hand was also flattened. However, this group of people was clearly well trained. The consecutive accidents did not confuse them. All kinds of firearms and energy weapons poured towards Zutui's flying car. Although the repulsive force flying car was bulletproof, it would not be able to last long under concentrated fire, especially with energy weapons. At this moment, Zutui could start a massacre without any restraint. However, he was still afraid. In less than 2 seconds, Zutui conjured another earth spike and pierced it into the lower body of the yellow-haired teenager who was temporarily in command. At the same time, Zutui drew out 7 mental whips with average power. The Wuxia masked man had the means to defend against Zutui's mental attacks, but the others did not. In an instant, the sound of bullets and energy attacks stopped. Among these robbers, those with stronger mind power were affected on the spot. Those with weaker mind power were directly slapped down by Zutui. "Get out of the car and kill!" Zutui's continuous mental attacks created an opportunity for everyone to launch a surprise attack. Zutui was the first to get off the repulsive force flying car. The silver pill and the flying sword flew up at the same time. However, he did not immediately attack the 7 robbers nearby. The moment the flying sword soared into the sky, Zutui threw his mental chain onto the flying sword. In the next moment, the flying sword let out an ear-piercing screech. 110 meters away, the robber who was controlling the shoulder launcher had just reloaded the launcher with a rocket. The moment he heard the strange sound and looked up, a silver light flashed and a line of blood appeared on his forehead. This was the greatest threat. At the same time, when the other 7 robbers saw Zutui and the others rush out, 5 of them threw away their firearms and pounced over. A large ball of icy mist emerged from the ground like a fountain. It instantly froze Zutui's feet. He had trapped Zutui. At the same time, flames appeared. There were at least 2 supernatural beings.